Welcome back, listeners, to another riveting episode of Red Hunt, where I, Red, dive into the compelling world of Reddit relationship stories. So grab your popcorn, sit back, and prepare to be captivated like never before. CTA, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our Red Hunt community for more intriguing tales. I'm pregnant and my partner's parenting schedule makes me want to break up. My partner and I have been in a relationship for over a year. He has 2 children, aged 10 and 8, from a previous relationship that ended 7 years ago. Recently, we discovered that I am 12 weeks pregnant. When we first started dating, my partner informed me that his children had never met any of his previous partners. I expressed that I was okay with that for the time being, but if our relationship became serious, that would need to change. After about 4 months together and multiple discussions, we took the kids to the fair. However, he introduced me to them as an old coworker, which was a lie. When their mother found out, she immediately called him, yelling and stating that he could see whoever he wanted, but the kids would not be allowed to be around me. The argument took place in front of the children. Since that one meeting, I haven't been able to be around my partner when he is with his kids. He has made attempts to reach out to their mother through calls, texts, and in-person conversations, but she refuses to communicate with him directly and will only communicate through his sister or her eldest daughter, who is 18 years old. Every Monday, my partner texts his eldest daughter to find out her schedule for the week. As a nurse, her working schedule varies, and when she is working, he picks up his kids and drops them off around 8:30 p.m. when she returns home. This inconsistent schedule sometimes hinders us from making plans in advance, and we often have to cancel plans last minute if she changes her schedule. Now, with our own child on the way, I am becoming increasingly concerned about this situation. Some weeks, my partner has to pick up his kids 3-4 times during the week, not returning until around 9 p.m., and he also has them on the weekends. During these weekends, I don't get to see him at all. We currently live together, so on weeknights, he takes the kids to the park or his parents' house. On weekends, he usually stays with his parents when he has them. I used to be okay with this arrangement, but since learning about my pregnancy, I have become worried. I don't want him to be away so much when we have our baby, and there are weekends where he won't be around at all. He even goes to their house early in the morning on some days to take them to their school activities, or leaves work early to pick them up from the bus stop. I fear that when the baby comes, he may not be present because of his commitments to his other children. I feel conflicted because while he has responsibilities towards his kids, I also feel alone and like I will be raising our child alone. I don't know what to do. Should I stay in this relationship or leave? Am I wrong for feeling that he is not present enough for our own baby? It sounds like you're in a really tough situation. It must be really frustrating not being able to spend quality time with your partner due to the restrictions placed by his ex. It's understandable that you're concerned about how things will be once your baby is born, especially if the current situation continues. It might be worth discussing with your partner the possibility of going to court to establish a more consistent custody schedule that works for everyone involved. Invisible girl steals pasta in the grocery store. Last night at the supermarket, I witnessed something that I, being a coward, would never do myself. I was in the condiment aisle selecting salad dressing when I noticed another girl around my age reading the ingredients on the back of mustard packets. Then, a woman in her 40s on a scooter entered the aisle. I don't want to promote stereotypes, but this woman was on the larger side, fitting the image commonly associated with the particular large chain supermarket I was in. She stopped her cart about 10 feet away from the girl, who I'll refer to as Mustard Lady. Now, Mustard Lady was barely 5 feet tall and around 100 pounds, standing close to the shelves. She had a basket next to her that seemed larger than her. Suddenly, the woman on the scooter charged forward, swerving closer to the shelves, directly in Mustard Lady's direction. I happened to be peeking at Mustard Lady's basket at that moment. I am always curious, so I witnessed the whole incident. Despite a yelp, Mustard Lady impressively jumped back and dodged the scooter, but unfortunately, her basket was knocked over, causing several items to fall. Scooter Lady didn't even acknowledge what had happened and continued forward. Before I could gather the courage to offer help, Mustard Lady swiftly picked up her fallen items, reorganized her basket, and managed to grab a box of pasta from the scooter's basket. She then walked across the aisle and attempted to place the box on the top shelf, out of Scooter Lady's reach. To my surprise, Scooter Lady exclaimed, "What the hell?" Mustard Lady with a deadpan expression responded, "Oh, so you can see me." I don't remember the exact words because I become paralyzed by even the slightest hint of conflict. But Scooter Lady proceeded to chastise Mustard Lady for being in her way and not paying attention to her surroundings. Scooter Lady seemed to believe Mustard Lady had been on her phone, mistaking it for a Yellow French's brand phone. I don't think Mustard Lady actually intended to place the pasta box on the shelves because she was simply holding it up. Regardless, after Scooter Lady finished her self-righteous rant, Mustard Lady didn't utter another word. From my peripheral vision, I could tell she didn't even appear angry. Mustard Lady simply glanced at Scooter Lady, tossed the box onto an upper shelf, and walked away. However, she did choose the longer way around the scooter, presumably to avoid being run over again. Meanwhile, I pretended to debate between different vinaigrettes, hastily picked the nearest one, and quickly slipped away, fearful of becoming the next victim of a hit-and-run incident. Fortunately, the salad dressing section was near the end of the aisle. I can only imagine that Mustard Lady may have regretted not responding to Scooter Lady's behavior, but that silent pasta toss was absolutely brilliant. I didn't encounter either of them again, but the pasta box remained on the shelf as I exited the aisle. It may not be the most exciting story, but in my mundane life filled with social anxiety, it was quite an event. Mustard Lady definitely had some ninja reflexes to dodge that scooter, and the silent pasta toss? Absolute genius. I can totally understand why it was a memorable moment for you, especially in an otherwise boring, anxiety-filled life. Am I the antagonist for writing I have no siblings when I have a stepsister? When I was around 4 years old, my parents divorced. When I turned 6, my mom started dating Jeff, and they got married a year later when I was 7. Jeff is the sole custodian of his daughter, Nia, who is 15 years old. Mia always lived with my mom and Jeff, while I split my time between my mom and dad. Unfortunately, when I was 10, my dad passed away, and I ended up permanently moving in with my mom. Since we first met, Mia has considered us sisters. She always desired a sibling, which made it easy for her to view me that way. However, I never felt the same. I never felt like I was missing out on having a sibling, and I never secretly wished for one. So we were never on the same page. Additionally, we have different personalities. Mia is extroverted and enjoys being active, whereas I am more introverted and prefer indoor activities. Mia claims that she doesn't mind what we do as long as we spend time together, but then she complains about engaging in activities I enjoy. I never initiate or ask her to hang out. It usually happens when I'm told to. Mia can sometimes be naive and self-centered. She believed that because she wanted me around all the time, I had to stop visiting my dad. For 3 years, she consistently insisted that I wasn't allowed to see him. She was disrespectful towards my dad whenever they met. After his passing, she even believed that she had the power to decide that I would share her room instead of using my own. Then there's my stuffed animal. My dad gave it to me when I was a baby, and I always brought it with me wherever I spent the night. I would bring it back and forth between both homes, and after my dad passed away, it either stayed with me at my mom's house or went to my grandparents' place if I slept over. Mia always wanted to share it and claimed that she should be the one to sleep with it. Jeff would ask me if she could borrow it, and I would always say no. Mia became even more persistent after my dad's passing, and my mom attempted to establish a schedule for sharing it. I lost my temper, and my mom retracted the idea. Even today, Mia still tries to make it a shared possession, but I don't allow her to see it and always keep it with me, even at school in my backpack. I understand that some people may say that this is a typical sibling relationship, and I suppose it could be. However, I don't love Mia or consider her as part of my family, and I never have. Recently, for a school project, we had to create a family history project. We could focus on anyone we considered family, and I mainly wrote about my dad and my paternal family. I made it clear in my assignment that I didn't have any siblings. I hardly mentioned my mom and didn't mention Jeff or Mia at all. The evening I finished my project, my mom and Jeff decided they wanted to review both mine and Mia's assignments. Unfortunately, Mia decided to read mine over my mom's shoulder while I was in the bath. When I came downstairs, Mia was crying, and both my mom and Jeff were angry. Mia argued that I should have mentioned her, while my mom and Jeff claimed that I didn't consider Mia's feelings when working on my assignment. Mia avoided me for a few days, expecting an apology and for me to express how much I missed her. However, when I didn't do either, both she and my mom told me that I should feel much worse, and that I shouldn't have written what I did. My mom even accused me of declaring myself an only child, despite not being one since I was 6. So, am I the asshole? It's your family history project, and you have the right to write about whoever you consider family. If you don't view Mia as your sibling, then it's understandable that you didn't mention her. It's not your responsibility to cater to her feelings, especially if she's been selfish and disrespectful towards you in the past. Am I the antagonist for keeping score with my family and ruining dinner? I am a 27-year-old male, and I am the third of 4 siblings. Throughout my life, I've always felt like I come last in my parents' priorities. My older sister, Lori, who is 33, my older brother, Chuck, who is 29, and my younger sister, Jade, who is 25, have always received the best treatment from our parents and each other. Meanwhile, I am left with whatever is left if I'm lucky. It has been around 10 years since I last received a birthday present from any of my siblings, yet I'm still expected to contribute to group gifts for their birthdays every year. During a family dinner on Friday night, it felt like every other sentence was aimed at me or contained a subtle boast from my siblings about something they received from our parents, something that I was denied. They talked about how wonderful everyone's weddings were, but made sure to emphasize that it was okay that my wife and I had a small, low-key wedding. It was fine as we loved it, but they conveniently ignored the fact that my parents paid for all of my siblings' weddings but not mine. Supposedly they couldn't afford it at the time because they were saving up for Jade's wedding. They also mentioned the minimal amount of student loans they have, conveniently forgetting to mention that our parents helped them financially. All three of them attended expensive four-year schools and lived on campus, while I stayed at home and went to a highly prestigious and competitive watchmaking school. I actually received payment to attend this school, so I paid rent to my parents. They also covered the cost of my tools, for which I am grateful. However, my siblings received an investment of $150K each for their education, whereas I only received $7K for my tools. Yet my parents consider this as an equal contribution. When I chose to return to school on my own, I did not ask for money, and it was not offered to me. Yet when my brother decided to go back to school, they covered all his expenses without him even having to ask. There were numerous other instances throughout the dinner where they made comments about cars and other lifestyle choices, but what pushed me over the edge was when my brother and his wife mentioned how great their marriage is because they do spontaneous dates, like the one they had the previous Friday night. Coincidentally, that was the same Friday night when my parents called last minute to cancel our dinner plans at our house because they had to babysit Chuck's kids due to an emergency. As it turns out, the so-called emergency was a dinner outing for Chuck and my sister-in-law at Texas Roadhouse. I had spent hours making my grandfather's ziti and meatballs with homemade marinara sauce, as it is my mom's favorite dish. Instead of screaming at them, I decided to leave the situation without saying a word, and my wife followed me. My mom later called me to inquire about why I left, and I explained everything to her. The favoritism, the unfairness, and the fact that it seems like they don't care about me. She didn't say much, and at that moment I wasn't looking for an explanation or an apology. I believed it was evident enough, but if she genuinely didn't see it, I wanted to spell it out for her. Apparently, parts of what I said were shared with my siblings because now Chuck and Lori are furious at me, accusing me of ruining dinner, while my mom is upset that I am hurt. They claim I am immature for keeping score. So, am I the asshole? It's understandable that you feel hurt and overlooked by your family. It's not about keeping score, but rather about feeling valued and appreciated for who you are. It's valid for you to express your feelings and concerns, even if it upset your siblings. Am I the antagonist for asking my sister to leave because she took a nap after moving into my new house? I recently purchased a house and my partner and I spent 2.5 months remodeling it before our lease ended. We dedicated almost every day to working on the house, which was exhausting and left me feeling completely burnt out. My sister and friends helped us on weekends. On the day we were moving in, I was mentally, physically, and emotionally drained. The move went smoothly with the help of our friends. My sister, however, couldn't assist us initially because she had been asked to sing at a funeral, which was understandably important to her. She planned to join us later and help with unpacking. She arrived just as we were finishing unloading the last 10 boxes from the U-Haul. However, she realized that she forgot to bring socks for her tennis shoes. She asked me for socks, but I was annoyed because I couldn't find anything amidst the chaos of the move. I had been lifting heavy objects for the past 4 hours, and as a disabled person with mobility issues and chronic pain, the day was especially challenging for me. Eventually, my boyfriend gave her some of his socks. She put them on and assisted with the remaining boxes. We took a break to have lunch, during which my sister ate with us and our friends left. She still planned to stay and help me unpack. However, I needed to return the U-Haul and had to be the one to drive since I was the authorized driver. I asked my sister if she could accompany me, but she insisted she needed a nap. She then walked over the furniture we had just moved in, found a spot on the dismantled sectional, and requested a blanket. I asked her again if she was sure she didn't want to come with me, but she affirmed that she really needed to nap. She ended up only being present for about 20 minutes, which felt inconsiderate. This behavior has been recurring, and I believe this incident was the final straw. There is a complicated history that is difficult to explain, but it seems like she only cares about herself and disregards others. When I went to return the U-Haul, I had to refuel it and got stuck while trying to maneuver out of the gas pump area. It was a 20-foot U-Haul, and without anyone to help me, I accidentally hit the side of it against a pole. I was doing my best, but it was frustrating that my sister didn't come along because she could have assisted me and prevented this accident. Now, I will have to pay for the damages. Upon returning home, my sister was still sleeping for another hour, even though I was playing music and unpacking dishes loudly. When she woke up, I asked her to leave because I was extremely upset with her behavior. If she had stayed, I would have likely gotten angry and said regrettable things. She was furious that I asked her to leave and has since blocked me, stating that she no longer wants a relationship with me. It's definitely not easy. Remodeling a house and moving can be so draining. Your sister's behavior does seem inconsiderate, especially with the history of her self-centered actions. It's unfortunate that it escalated to the point where she blocked you, but sometimes setting boundaries is necessary for your own sanity. Am I the antagonist for telling my soon-to-be mother-in-law that I'm marrying her son and not her, just after uninviting her to our wedding? I met my fiancé during college, and we have a great relationship. Last year we got engaged, and we're planning the wedding for this fall. While he has an awesome dad and really sweet sisters, his mother is kind of a sore spot for him. She is separated from his dad, and from what I've heard and witnessed, the family don't get along much with her. If you met her, you'd understand why. She's super judgmental and rude, and barely has a nice word to say about her own kids, let alone me. Unfortunately, my fiancé is her blatant favorite. She really wants him to be mommy's boy, but he's not that way at all, and does a great job of handling her and keeping his distance, which honestly he prefers. Upon news of our engagement, she was super excited, very uncharacteristically. We then all realized that she basically wanted to frame the whole day around her. Think everyone should be praising me for birthing this boy. He couldn't even get married without me. From there, the craziness really ramped up. She was coming along with him to tux fittings, trying to plan out the music, even our first dance, and getting angry at me for daring to choose a dress she didn't like. The rest of his family and I were actually beginning to toy with the idea of uninviting her based on this behavior. And as wrong as it kind of innately feels, this is a pretty exceptional case, and honestly her actions were starting to make us dread our own wedding. A further incident a few days later where she told my son she wanted to walk me down the aisle so she could have a moment with her son at the altar made me, my husband and my future in-laws, snap. We very recently arranged for her to come over to our home, where myself and my husband sat her down in the peace and quiet, and gently explained to her that we no longer wanted her to attend the wedding. She got really angry and immediately flew off the handle at me and not her son, as though I was the one who had influenced the rest of the family to uninvite her. My frustration at her boiled over, and without shouting I stood up and told her that I wanted her to stop yelling and that she had no right to speak to me as she was. When I realized she was about to blow up again, I cut her off with, "In case you don't know, I'm the one marrying your son, not you." She didn't say anything else, just snatched up her bag and left. She hasn't spoken to me since, but she's trying to get my son to change his mind. Believe me when I say, he will not. She wants an apology from me, and while my husband and the rest of the family don't think I did wrong, I kind of wonder if my comment was unnecessary and whether it would have been better to stay the calm and collected party. I'm just so done with her, and I wanted to let her know exactly how I felt. Wow, your future mother-in-law sounds like a nightmare. It's understandable that you and the rest of your family were considering uninviting her from the wedding. Standing up to her and telling her off might not have been the most diplomatic approach, but sometimes you just need to speak your mind and let her know how you feel. Hopefully she'll get the message and leave you guys alone. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.